Hey everyone, you're listening to Hour 1 of Episode 26 of Handy at the Shandy. I'm Boring Jack. I am joined in name only in Hour 1 by Adam the Fraud and Table Games James. And hello. I say that because... Oh, who was that?
Doesn't matter.
I say that only because Hour 1 is a Boring Jack Boring Trip Report. And so not only am I hosting the show today, I'm also bending your ear with the long-awaited story time of my World Series of Poker trip to Vegas.
Now, I don't want to have a spoiler or anything, Jack, but I did not see you on TV.
No, I did not make the final table at the tournament. I didn't even make the next table. I was at the same table until I busted out. So that's,
I don't even know if you were at a table.
Yeah,
Typical Jack busting early.
We will get to that. But we will start this trip report where we start all trip reports, which is when you're going to get on that flight to Vegas. And we're going to talk a bit about the flight here because of the three of us playing in the poker tournament, like I said, the crew of us is 5 deep. But the three of us playing in the poker tournament are myself, my friend Ben out of Baltimore, and Ryan, who's also here in Minneapolis with me. And Ben came out to visit us for a couple days leading up to the Vegas trip. So we all got on the same morning Delta flight Saturday morning to Vegas. In my infinite Delta status, I was able to pick a window seat. And I said, hey, Ben, jump on this middle seat that you don't have to pay extra or have status to select. And then that way we can be little seat row mate buddies. And Ryan, he's got some sort of like highfalutin status as far as I'm concerned. So he's going to be somewhere further up in the plane. But as luck would have it, he was in the exact same row as us in the aisle seat that we weren't able to get, just completely serendipitously. So it's the three of us, each with our little syringes, all plugged into my laptop watching the Louis Theroux documentary as we fly to Vegas. And I thought that was a pretty cute way to start the trip.
That was very cute. Very cute.
Yeah.
We did get some listener feedback from Asher S. that I'm not pronouncing Louis Theroux's last name correctly, which is true. It is more like Theroux. But I blame the fact that his surname never comes up spoken in that documentary at any point. But I realized I'm basically the drunk Tim character who keeps calling him Lewis in that documentary. Lewis, we're winning. So that's basically what I've been reduced to at this point. But I don't know. You look at it, it looks like it says Theroux. It's like, I don't know.
I only pronounced it Theroux because that's what you would say.
Well, yeah.
I've always heard it as Theroux. I don't think he would be that upset, to be fair. So,
well, in the Brits, they don't do well at changing pronunciations. They kind of do their own thing with other people's names as it is. So I don't feel that bad.
We'll try to get him on the pod to ask.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But we got there uneventfully. We got in a cab to the Vdara where we were all staying. He immediately clocked us as poker players, which happened kind of consistently throughout the rest of the trip. Like we'd all get in an elevator and there'd be a woman in the elevator and she'd say, oh, poker? And it's just kind of like, oh, isn't
were you guys
obvious?
Showering or not? Because that's usually like the key. Like,
I think the main thing is that we had like people with backpacks with us. And so if you just see a bunch of young guys and they've got like a backpack and they look like schlubs, then yeah, it's poker players.
What do poker players put in those backpacks? Like I see them like all these backpacks around. I'm like, you have binders and stuff?
Well, one thing you definitely have is snacks because you get very little time to actually go and get food. And then they have like a hot dog cart at the Paris ballroom there. And
in their backpacks? Oh, no, sorry. I thought you were saying other things that are in the backpack.
Leave it in. The hot dog cart at the Paris ballroom will sell you like a hot dog and chips combo for $16. And it's just like, what the fuck are we even doing here?
Yeah.
But there are some, maybe I'll mention this a bit later, but some of the restaurants on that little restaurant row kind of outside the Paris Convention Center in the connector between Paris and Horseshoe, they've started to do more like grab and go menus. And so you could get like grab and go from Martha Stewart or from Dominique Ansel and stuff like that. So you're not slave to the $16 hot dog, but it is nice to have stuff with you.
Okay.
Anyways, we then in turn clocked the cabbie as he was telling us, oh, yeah, you guys ever play at like the Orleans poker room? And Ryan immediately goes, oh, you play like 4-8 Limit Omaha? And the guy was like, yeah. So we immediately turned the demographic information back on him once he mentioned the Orleans. And so that made me feel at least a little better. We get to the Vdara pretty early in the afternoon, maybe like 1 or 2, probably more like 1. And none of our rooms are ready, which isn't too big of a surprise. But the woman at the desk is like, I just called housekeeping to check. Your room has been serviced, but it's still awaiting final inspection. I've got the room number down here so I can keep checking back on it. And I was like, oh, do you want me to like wait around and so that like you can flag me down when it's ready? Is that what you're saying? She was like, oh no, it's going to be like 30, 45 minutes. So you should just go and do your thing. And I was like, okay, great.
What does final inspection mean?
Well, I think sometimes rooms get inspected by someone that wasn't the one that cleaned them. I don't know if it always happens, but I do know that does happen.
I don't think it's happened in any of the rooms I've stayed at in MGM lately.
That's probably
unless
true.
the inspection is like, we'll grant up to 3 pubic hairs and we'll send them in. Otherwise, if it's over that, we got to do another round of cleaning.
No, but spoiler alert, my room was very clean. And so whoever the final inspector maybe did some good work there. We'll see. But
I think they need to start doing like, when you get like clothing or something like that, like inspected by, and they give you like an inspector number. I would like that. I want to know who's writing this off.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. That's a good idea, actually. I wouldn't be surprised if there's hotels, like nice hotels somewhere that actually do that kind of thing. But
not Vdara.
Not in Vegas when you have 2,400 rooms or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But so we decided we're going to check our bags at the Vdara Bell desk and play at the Cosmo for a little bit, get our credit lines open. Ryan had to sign some papers. I had to get some money. And we were just like, we'll just play there for a little bit. We'll check on my room in like an hour. And because we really would want to just like have somewhere to put our stuff and maybe take a quick shower, that kind of thing. We'll check on my room in like an hour because she said 30, 45 minutes. Then either way, ready or not, we're going to head up to Resorts World and play a bit there before dinner. And the room, indeed, was not ready after an hour of mucking around. So we hopped in an Uber. We get to the Resorts World High Limit Bar, and it's actually like kind of crowded. There's room for the 3 of us, but not all consecutively. And so me and Ben get to sit next to each other down at one end. And Ryan ends up in what he kind of described as like the Kino hell zone down at the other end.
Poor
where
Ryan.
it's just like making all sorts of noise. The guy next to him is playing like Kino at max speed. So instead of like the ding, 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 it's just like, and he's just like, he's not having a great time over there. And so when he finally gets to come join us and talk about like, oh man, I couldn't handle the Kino there, Chris, the bartender, starts needling him about like how great the sound is and how he just loves it, loves being around it and stuff like that.
I thought the 2 of you would have changed to Kino to start.
Yeah, absolutely.
But that would have done for sure.
I don't know. I don't know if I could be a video Kino guy, even if it was for a bit. So we got the Saturday crew at Resorts World. We got Chris, we got Maddie, we got to drink some world famous Vdara. And I just kind of love that you just get to get into town and you get to immediately start doing your favorite thing at your favorite bar with your friends. And so the fact that I was able to get both those guys to come join me to Resorts World was great. I think if our rooms had been ready, it might not have worked. So this is where I started playing. My usual game is double bonus Ultimate X. And this trip, I said, it's a 5-day trip. I'm going to be there a while. I can't really stomach the volatility. I'm going to be playing more bonus poker Ultimate X. And it's really not just because of the volatility. It's also because bonus poker pays a significant bit better. Like we're talking like 98.1 return versus 97.3 or something like that. And so that is a pretty significant reduction in the house edge, as I like to point out. And as a result, the fact that it's both lower volatility and lower house edge means that I like kind of felt like, yeah, this is the game you should be sticking to on this trip.
Are you good enough now to say that you're about the same expertise on both those games? Because before, when I brought this up, you said it didn't matter because you knew basically perfect strategy for double bonus and you didn't know it for bonus poker. Are you good enough at bonus poker now that you're like, it's fine?
That is one thing I did. I did study pretty,
okay.
I wouldn't say like super aggressively. I paid probably maybe 1,000 hands total over a handful of sessions on videopoker.com. But one of the things is that it's actually a bit easier than double bonus because you don't get 6 credits or 30 credits rather for your flushes. And so a lot of the weird flush holds you have to make, you can kind of just ignore as soon as you have any multiplier on the screen at bonus poker. Whereas you have to keep making these weird holds much, much higher at a game where the flushes pay more.
Yeah.
But I did study and I did get to a point where I was comfortable with it. I bring this up because I feel like I got a whole lot of nothing there at the Resorts World High Limit Bar. But then at one point, kind of near the end of the session, I got 4 of a kind jacks, just a normal quad on an 8 times. and only paid $250 at quarters. And I was like, oh, this is kind of feels like a raw deal. But then I look at my credit balance. I was only down 300 at the time that I hit it. And so it's one of those things where, yeah, you don't get as much when you get these 4-of-a-kind hits, but you're not buried nearly as much. And so the fact that when you get these random 4-of-a-kinds on no multiplier and they only pay $31.25 and you're like, oh, geez, that's like 4 spins. It's, you're buoyed by the fact that these 2 pairs just keep you in the game so much longer. And so the thing I noted was that the variance at bonus poker is noticeably lower, not because you can't just get wrecked quickly. Like when you get a bunch of dead spins in a row, your balance drops precipitously the same way it does at other Ultimate X's. But you can much more easily go on like a little mini streak or a little mini run that actually makes a dent in the hole you're in, where you just get like, oh, dealt 2 pair into dealt 2 pair. And it's like, wow, that's like real money. Whereas at other games, it like you don't even feel it. So,
well, I feel like if you go through the history of our podcast and like trip reports we've been on, it's been like you guys talking about these major losses and huge wins that you've had. And it's me talking about like, oh no, I keep going on these mini runs where it's like flush into a full house, into, like 2 pair. And it does track with this because I am the bonus poker player out of the 3 of us, traditionally speaking.
Yeah. And so I did realize you can get wrecked pretty quickly still in the worst case, but in like the second to worst or third to worst cases, that kind of the 15th percentile session goes way better than it does at some of these other games, I guess.
Well, if you hit like 3 or 4 2 pair in, 4 or 5 hands, when you're playing something like double bonus or double bonus, and you're like, I just had like 5 good hands and I have the same amount of money as I had before. Like that's so demoralizing. Where in bonus poker, like all of a sudden you're like, oh, I just won $100 and I didn't even know it didn't seem like I won anything. So yeah, I like it.
So yeah, my verdict, just so that I don't have to keep talking about this, I think I don't really like bonus poker nearly as much as I like the volatility of double bonus. But given that I know that the house edge is a fair bit different, I was pretty happy to be playing it. So it was still a fun game to play. If the house edges were the same, I would opt for the higher volatility option for sure. But given that it wasn't, I was happy to be playing that for most of the trip.
Do you think that would depend on your length of trip as well? Like if you were going to Vegas and it was like you're going in, you're only going to be there for like a day and a half. Do you think you would just go right to double bonus and like not worry about it? And then if you were there for 6 days, you'd be like, I got to go to bonus poker.
Almost certainly. Yeah. Okay. That's kind of what I'm thinking about. And we'll maybe talk about that a bit when we preview the next trip that James has convinced me to tag along for.
Ooh, spoiler alert. Woo, woo.
Woo, woo. Ben had peeled off at some point, but in order to make our reservation at Haleo, Ryan and I walk back from Resorts World to Cosmo. Our friend Trevor has since gotten in. So the 5 of us, like I said, it's me, Ben, and Ryan playing the tournament. Then we have Trevor joining for a couple days. And then very briefly for the poker game and the dinner on Sunday, we have a guy named Alex joining us as well. We all meet up for the first time outside Haleo at like 6:30. I think everyone besides me ends up waylaid in some way or another. And so I have to go tell the hostess that like we're all here except for the 3 of them. And it'll probably be more like 6:45. I've been drinking all day at this point. I had a double old fashioned on the plane. I got cocktails from my 2 favorite bartenders at Resorts World. And so at Haleo, I lay off on the drinks knowing that we're going back into the gambling and drinking immediately after. And so the only like big expense that we endured at Haleo, other than just getting little bits of tapas here and there, was we did get suckered in for the paella of the day, which was their morel mushroom paella, which had some bits of sausage in it as well. And it was like $80. We were like, well, there's 4 of us. We'll split it. And it was good, but it was still a bit too expensive for what it was. We could have ordered 8 different like ham and cheese sandwiches for that price and probably gotten more out of it or something like that. After Haleo, you know where we're going, the Chandelier Bar. And we got pretty quickly the 4 Ultimate X machines, or whatever you want to call them, the All-Star Poker 2 machines that have all the gimmicky games on them. For us, they're the Ultimate X machines. We got all 4 of them on that left-hand side of the bar right in a row.
Nice.
So we've got me, Ben, Trevor, and Ryan all playing our video poker. Ryan is a double bonus Ultimate X guy. Trevor is pretty new to video poker. He only played it for the first time like a year ago when he came out to Vegas with us. And so he's just playing 3-line bonus poker at quarters. And then Ben likes to match what I'm doing. And so he was on the 3-line Ultimate X bonus poker as well, but he was playing his dimeses.
That's smart.
Trevor gets a dealt quad like very quickly into the session. And on last year's trip, this seemed to be his specialty, just getting like dealt 4s of a kind. And I have to remind people that the odds of getting dealt 4 of a kind, because remember, on the deal, it doesn't matter how many lines you're playing. We're talking about on that very first line that propagates to all the others. What are your chances of getting 4 of a kind on the come out? And it's about like 4,100 to 1 against. Like you have to play about 4,100 hands before you'd be expected to get 1. And so if you think about like how many hands per hour do you play, like a fast player like me maybe does more like 800. Someone like Trevor, who's newer at it, is probably doing more like we'll be generous and say like 600 hands an hour. So you'd think you'd be getting a dealt quad like every 7 hours or so on average. And so I like to put that in perspective of like, that's what we're talking about here. When you say like, hey, I got dealt 4 of a kind, it's like you should be able to set your watch for like 5-7 hours from now before you see that again, which is kind of wild.
And what if you play as fast as I play?
It's being 3 an hour.
Well, then you're probably accidentally throwing away dealt quads.
Yeah.
You're just not noticing that you got them.
Uh-huh.
I really like when you come at us with these like times, like, hey, you know, about 7 hours. I really like, because I think about it every time now that I get a dealt full house, because you're like, this should happen about once an hour. And every time
it kind of does, doesn't it?
Yeah, I guess it does. Well, lately for me, over the past month of gambling, I think I've had 1 the entire time. So that means I'm due next week when I'm in Vegas for probably 5 an hour. I can't wait. That's how it works.
I don't know if the machines talk to each other across country like that.
Oh, they know.
Like
they know.
It's kind of like a game of telephone. You're going to end up getting like...
As long as you stick with the same manufacturer, I think it's good. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Around 11 at night or so, we decide we want to play some late night craps. And I am much more open to late night shenanigans, given that I know Monday night I might have to stay up pretty dang late for that poker tournament. So it's like, instead of me turning back into a pumpkin at like 10 p.m. Pacific, I'm like 11 p.m. Yeah, great time to go play craps. Let's do it. And it helps that I've been alcohol fueled all day long. Cosmo was super full. They've kind of shortened the number of craps tables they have there, but all of them were running and all of them were full, which is a Saturday night. What are you going to do? So we head on over to Aria, who still has a full complement of craps tables. They probably still have like 10. And we found a $25 table with an entire side of it open for us, which was nice.
That's shocking. I would have thought that would have been just as busy and, or if not, then at the $50 level. So finding a $25 table on a Saturday night when things are pretty hopping during the World Series of Poker, I think that's pretty good.
Yeah, and you never know. Maybe there was like a group on that side that had all just left or something like that. But we had, Ryan and I bought in for like 1,000 each. Ben and Trevor, the newer gamblers among us, were in for 500 each. And we were all doing either a 2-point or 3-point molly. So, Ben and Trevor were mostly just doing one pass line bet with $50 odds and then a come bet with 50. And then me and Ryan were doing the exact same thing, but going up to 3 numbers. The 2 guys that bought in for 500, like almost got wiped out like immediately. They were down to like their last chips after like basically like 3 or 4 rollers. But the dice come around to our side of the table at this point, and Ryan just goes on a tear. Like, I think he made the different halves of the all tall small like 3 or 4 times. Like he never made them all, but he just kept hitting halves. Then eventually it would reset on like a come out roll and he'd make another half of it and stuff. And so he was just blasting away at every number imaginable. And sometimes it was the ones we were up on. Sometimes it wasn't, but we were all making a bunch of money. The people that were almost wiped out ended up well. And those of us that still had healthier bankrolls, those blossomed as well. And it just overall kind of put us back on track for a bunch of mediocre to good rolls. Like, even though none of us reprised Ryan's great prowess there, we all kind of had a fun throwing the dice ourselves and we each got to a point where you get to the point in the roll where you think you might never roll a 7 again. And then just some of us did pretty quickly, where Ryan actually didn't, kind of thing. I don't think we left the craps table till maybe just after 1 a.m. All of us, all 4 of us, won somewhere between $300 and $450.
Nice.
Which is like an exceedingly tight spread for the fact that, a 2-point and a 3-point molly could have drastically different results over a session like that, I would think. But in this case, they did not. And I think I was on the low end of that. I think I only made about $300 for whatever reason. I at no point upped my odds, I don't think. I think I just stuck with 50 just straight through the whole time. Whereas Ryan started upping it on some of those long rolls and stuff. And so we all ended up in the same place, which was kind of interesting. But Ben made an interesting comment. We were talking about the people at the other end of the table who were more just placing numbers across and stuff, which is always good because if we're all playing come bets, our side of the table is always going to be on the same numbers and empty on the same numbers with nobody home. And so it's always cool when there's other people at the end of the table getting paid on stuff and clapping and cheering when you roll like a 5 that you didn't care about and stuff like that. But Ben made an interesting comment. He was like, oh, for me, a lot of the fun of craps is that like the game decides which numbers you're up on, that you're not just always on the same ones. And I was like, yeah, this justifies my life view as a combat player. Like it's something I hadn't really thought about, but that is kind of the fun of it, is that you're on like different numbers each roll. And you're like, okay, here we want 5, 9, 10. And then over here, you're like, okay, we need 4, 6, 10 or stuff like that. You're always rooting for something different. At this point, I have not heard that my room is ready, but it's 1:30 in the morning. And so I suspect it probably is. And I go to the front desk to get my keys. And I make the mistake of not going to the bell desk to get my bags. So I go to my room and I call down to the bell desk and say, hey, this is my room number. Here's my ticket number for my little valet ticket. And they say, all right, we'll send your bags up. After about 30 minutes, I call down again and I'm like, I'm not in a good mood at this point because it should not take 30 minutes. And I am really tired and just want to go to bed. So I call down and I'm like, hey, can you check on my luggage? I'm in this room. I have this ticket number. And they're like, okay, yeah, we checked on it and it's on its way. And I'm like, yeah, because this isn't good, right? Like, and they were just like, oh, well, we're very sorry. And it's just like, I don't know. They were clearly not very sorry. They just say that when you say that it's not acceptable. And then so at this point, I just go and stand in like my door and wait because I'm at the very end of the hallway. And so I'm just standing there because like, I just want to go to bed. I'm just going to get my stuff as soon as possible. I don't want them to like come in and do the whole thing about like, where can I set this? It's just like, I'm going to take my bags off the cart and go to sleep because now it's like, by the time the guy shows up, it's like 2:15 in the morning. And I had originally called them at like 1:30. And so I storm off to bed. I wake up Sunday morning and I'm a new man. And I'm still kind of mad that they never texted me. They told me 30 to 45 minutes. It wasn't ready after an hour. They never texted me that my room was ready. And then they shafted me on the bags. But
this has been a Vdara thing. I'll be honest with you. Like my last couple stays of Vdara, this has happened where room has not been ready well past check-in time.
Mine probably was. They just, I don't know. They didn't tell me. It didn't bother. But I get the first look at the view from my room Sunday morning, and it is fantastic. I didn't even really notice because I never even lifted up the blinds when I got in that late in what I guess was at that point Sunday morning. But I got in so late I didn't even bother. I'm on the northeast corner of the Vdara looking north and east with windows on kind of like an L-shaped room because I'm in one of their like executive corner suites.
Yeah, I like those rooms.
I've only previously been in ones that kind of face the exact opposite direction where you're looking at like the parking garage and the Aria. But here I'm looking north all the way up the strip and I'm high enough that I can kind of see over the Bellagio down to like Resorts World, the new Guitar Tower, all that stuff. And I have the view out towards the like morning sun to the east towards like Cosmo and Planet Hollywood as well. So it was like, if I ever book this room type again, I'm going to be like, hey, can I get in like one of the good ones? Because this was a fantastic room. And it was really cool that we got to play our poker game in the daytime instead of at night, because then we kind of had this as the backdrop for it. But I'm getting ahead of myself. We meet up at the Chandelier Bar, of course, kind of late in the morning. I don't know. We're probably meeting up there around 9 with the goal of once everyone is up and awake and ready, that we'll walk all the way up to Fontainebleau to get breakfast at La Fontaine. And of course, Trevor gets dealt 4 of a kind again. This time it's 4s for $150, $50 on each line. Ben comes down to meet us. I'm like, all right, we're ready to go up to Fontainebleau. And he's like, oh shit, I forgot we were walking, and is in his flip-flops. And so then has to go back to the room and get some like real shoes. And I realized like, just going from even 2 people to 3 people in Vegas makes it so much harder to like get people to a thing. Like if it's a thing that has like a time, like we have this reservation at this restaurant. I mean, I guess the previous night notwithstanding, that usually works pretty well, that you get the people there at that time. But when you're just like, yeah, we'll meet up for breakfast whenever people are ready and we'll go to this, it's just like, man, you can be there forever. But as soon as Ben goes back on his shoe journey, I get 4 of a kind 8s on an 11X to wipe away like over half my losses from the morning. Cause I feel like I had lost like over $600 just playing my bonus poker that morning, Ultimate X, and getting $350 quad there puts a decent dent in it.
You had been messaging and saying, man, good thing I'm not playing double bonus or higher because I am getting
I wasn't hitting any 4 of a kinds. Like even yesterday when I was talking about the Resorts World ones where I hit that $250 quad to get me out of that $300 hole, which all things considered is not that much. That was the first quad I hit that day, I think. That was, so I was like hours in without even getting one. So I was like, oh, this is just great in some sense.
Your quad tracker is just empty.
Yeah.
I never whipped out the quad tracker at this point.
That's your fault. That's why the machines can
brought
see
them.
when you have it.
Yeah. And then I forgot. For La Fontaine, they are in some sense kind of like reservations only in that they don't take walk-up seats. So when you walk up, they just tell you what the next available time is. They're like, oh, we can get you in at noon. And it was like 11:30. And we were like, that's great. So instead of it being like there's a 30-minute or so wait, they're just like, we can put you down for a 12 p.m. reservation. And we're like, that actually seems like a pretty reasonable system. So then we go down to the Fontainebleau Casino and we find 3 All-Star Poker 3 machines right in a row. And we get the 3 of Ben, Trevor, and Ryan on them. And I pull up a little cuck chair to sit beside them and watch them play their various versions of video poker. I try to convince Benny to get on the Dream card because, you know, these, despite being kind of the same name as the bar top machines, they often come with even more types of games than you can find on these bar tops. And Dream card is one of them. But no luck there. Everyone just kind of played their favorite video poker game. And so I got to sit and watch that for about 30 minutes. We go back up to La Fontaine. And I think the main thing that we're going to take away from this is that it is expensive. Like it is up there with like the Tableau at Wynn or stuff like that, where just everything is priced out the wazoo. I think the best example of that would be that their Fontaine breakfast, which is kind of their default American breakfast where you get eggs, meat, toast, hash browns, coffee, is like $46.
Oh,
wow.
Even at a nice place, that's steep.
But I mean, that's the thing that's been like people have mentioned about Fontainebleau since it opened, right? Is like, oh, these are some great food options, but it's priced like out the wazoo.
Yeah.
And yeah, when you're getting offers as a gambler, it's like, oh, it's coming with $400 in food credits. Like, yeah, it better. Yeah, great. I can get coffee now.
I have a weird thing though. Like, I feel like breakfast is the one thing that you don't go crazy price wise with. Like basic breakfast stuff where it's like $40 seems like that's even too much. Like even Wynn wouldn't do something like that. So that feels like, yeah, $15-$20 for a pizza slice, whatever, you know, I kind of expected a nice place, but I feel like breakfast is untouchable. If you're just giving me eggs, it shouldn't be astronomical.
And the food was nice. It was a little more of an upscale presentation and stuff like that. And one thing that I will say to their credit is that the portion sizes were small. And that doesn't sound like I'm saying it.
Excuse me.
It was expensive, but at least we didn't get anything.
Well, right. But like I feel like very often Vegas gives you more food than you can eat in order to justify the high prices, which is like completely backwards. Right. And so here I was at least like, oh, at least I'm not paying this $46 to throw away food. I'm paying for all the food I'm getting. I don't know. It's kind of a backwards way to think about it, but I do not like it when you have to overpay for more food than you can eat. I'm going to say, based off my coffee drinker friends, we had 2 of them there that both got their coffee. And I'm going to say Tim Lawson was wrong based off this small sample size about the coffee there being good. They both said it was subpar. They gave it like a 4 or 5 out of 10, which is a bummer.
Expensive food, subpar coffee. That's not, crossing that one off the list for breakfast.
Definitely not Bouchon level.
No. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, so I would rather just go to like Sadelle's or the Henry, which can be themselves pretty expensive, but not nearly at this level.
Yeah.
They did have a lot of kind of more upscale stuff on there. Like you could get caviar service. You could get like this bagel tower. And we heard a patron that like the table right behind us asking about it. And he's like, now tell me about this bagel tower. How tall is it?
How many bagels do you need?
And if what he ended up getting on his table was indeed that bagel tower, it was not very tall. So
It was average, okay?
yeah, it was in the pool.
Now I'm curious.
The rest of the guys, at this point, we had the 12 p.m. at La Fontaine. It's probably getting near about 1 by the time we get out of there. And we're planning on doing this poker game around 2 in my room at Vdara. And I decide I want to walk back because I just had a big breakfast. I knew we were getting Gymkhana pretty early. I wanted to walk up an appetite. And so I did walk back, and I ended up going through an area of Vegas that I have never on any of these walks been in at any point, which is the Wynn Plaza shops. Because I stayed outside for a bit because it was like, oh, all the lights are like green. There's no reason for me to go into the hotel. I'm just going to keep walking. But then I hit like a red light and just made a hard right turn into the Wynn through these doors. And I ended up in like this 2-story mall I didn't know existed. Because I've seen their shops that are kind of like the Esplanade shops that are kind of similar to the shops that Bellagio has with like the curved hallway and the overhead light, the sunlight, blah, blah, blah. I had no idea where this was going to let me out. Like, am I going to be in like the Encore poker room? Like, where am I going to end up?
Like the Esplanade shops, they have like the Rolex and all that stuff. Like, do the Plaza shops have like Hot Topic or like what's back there?
It's just
like the
even
B
more. No, it might be even. I would say it's the exact same tier. It is all the highest end shops that have things that are completely unaffordable, and they probably sell like one good a month.
Aeropostale or something.
Yeah, no.
No.
Hey, that was high class when I was growing up. Not gonna lie.
So it does drop you off right near like Allegro. So you end up at that same kind of corner as to where you'd walk over to Encore, except you're coming out of a different hallway. I don't know. I was completely turned around. I make it back to my room, and it's like 1:50, and people are like thinking about coming over at like 2, and I am just beat. I am like, I get out of the shower and I'm just like, I just need to sleep. Like,
Yeah,
I
this
would
is what
rather
walking does to you. This is why we don't walk.
Yeah.
Because
Take a
you got to
cab.
cancel plans. Jeez.
I was like, I would rather die than host this poker game. But
sorry, guys, I can't do the poker game. I walked through the Wynn Plaza shops on my way home. Like, what kind of host are you?
But I do soldier on. I think we ended up meeting down. We end up meeting down in the Vdara lobby at like 2:15 as we're waiting for Alex to get out of his like poker game he's playing at the Bellagio. We meet down in the lobby. I did get that, gave me that extra 15 minutes, just like sit there in my towel on my bed and just like decompress and scroll social media for like 15 minutes.
Thanks for the visual. On the
Are you depressed? Yeah,
I've got my towel on. There's nothing I don't know. You don't need to have any visuals.
He's just naked looking out the 43rd, looking northeast over the strip.
I just stared wistfully out the window, hanging dong.
Sounds like a podcast title, if you ask me.
So we get everyone up to my room. Of the things we bring for this poker game, I do bring like a tabletop felt, so we're not playing on that kind of like glass dining room table that they have there. And then I brought chips, cards, and we had 2 different whiskeys for this trip. I brought the Angel's Envy Rye and the Balvenie,
I like that one.
Yeah, and the Balvenie 14 Caribbean cask. Both of which are finished, the Angel's Envy Rye as well is finished in Caribbean rum barrels, which is kind of a weird coincidence there.
Yeah, and I usually don't like those. I mean, I don't have many more, but like for some reason the Angel's Envy Rye just hits right. Like the sweetness of the rum and like the spiciness of the rye really kind of pairs well together.
It's fantastic. I think I got it for only like $85 too at Total Wine before the trip. So I was very pleased with that because I usually think of it as being like $100 bottle. The whiskey at this point really turned my mood and energy around as well. So I had soon forgotten about that brief bout of malaise, and we settled in to play some poker games. We did not get to the most confusing one that I discussed on the last trip, but we did play quite a bit of second best hold'em. And let me tell you, our buddy Trevor, who's the only one among us, like the other 4 of us, me, Ben, Ryan, and Alex, have all taken poker very seriously at certain parts in our lives. Whereas Trevor like learned the rules, like, he's not quite at the like does a straight beat a flush. Like he's well past that, but he's like trying to figure out what a baseline like starting hand looks like in like Hold'em in Omaha, right?
He's not talking ranges, is what you're saying.
Right. He ends up holding his own completely fine at all these standard poker games like Fixed Limit Hold'em, Omaha High-Low Split, Deuce to 7 Triple Draw. And his stack of chips is doing fine. We get to the second best Hold'em and he falls off a cliff somehow. And he's like asking us for advice. And we're like, we don't have a fucking clue what we're doing in this game. And it gets to weird spots in this game, let me tell you, where at the end, you're like betting and you don't really know why. If you have like a really bad, if you have like the worst.
Like me in the casino, just in general.
And especially when you've had like a few drinks and you're getting a big stack in front of you, you're like, you just tell, I'm just being honest. I tell people I'm betting and I don't know why. And they're like, this is, yep, that tracks. But like you get to the end of the hand with like 3 people and you have like a really bad hand. You're like, well, I really want to bet because if one of the 2 folds, then I'll have the second best hand, meaning the worst one. Mm-hmm. But no one's going to like fold because we're playing limit Hold'em and there's already that much in the pot and no one knows what they're doing. So they're just going to call. And then it always stands so that the person with the best hand, let's say someone's hand is a bit too good, like they ended up backing their way into like a high pair at the very end. Mm-hmm. That person calls. And now the guy with the terrible hand who bet is mad at the good pair player because he's like, if you just folded, I win with my shit hand. But instead you called, costing yourself money. And you gave the pot to this other Yahoo who's like got the pair of deuces and knows he's right in the middle of our like oops too good and terrible hands. And it's just like you end up getting like these weird animosity spots where you're just
turn
like
into all grumpy blackjack players.
I was betting so the person who had the exact hand you had would fold, and somehow you didn't, and you cost us both. And it's just, I don't know, it was a really interesting way to play poker. I think it might be more interesting if you can bet bigger later on. So instead of doing like a limit betting system where it's like 1x, 1x, and then the next 2 betting streets are 2x, 2x, maybe doing something like a 1, 2, 4, 8 progression and still keep it limit, but have the bets double every street instead of only double once. I think something like that might work well for that game. At one point, Alex had a great line where we just saw the flop in a hand of second best Hold'em, and he gets up to pee and he goes, I'm going to the bathroom and I'm calling all bets. And it just closes the door behind him. And it's just like in no other poker game can you do that and have it not be exploitable. But in second best is just like, yeah. We did good work on that whiskey. It gets to be about 5 p.m. and we know we have a 5:15 at Gymkhana, which is thankfully basically just down the elevator and into the aria. And so we leave the room at around 5. At this point, Trevor has lost like $77. Like I said, no matter how bad you do, you can't lose $100. Trevor's lost like $77. And we kind of like the 4 of us, a couple of us won like $2, $5 here or there. And then the other 2 kind of split up Trevor's money. So it was all 4 of us won besides Trevor. And it was all off the back of second best Hold'em, which I thought was pretty remarkable. But we go to Gymkhana again. And I don't really have that much to report. On the last episode, I said we wouldn't get swindled in by the $30 cocktails, and we didn't. But we made good work of their wine list and their sommelier and ended up getting 2 like reasonably expensive bottles of wine, like in the 120, 180, something like that. We probably spent like $300 on wine between the 5 of us. But even still, with the 2 nice bottles of wine, the meal for 5 with as much curry and biryani and whatever as we could eat was $150 a person after tax and tip.
That's great.
And it was just like, yeah, I didn't feel even bad about splurging on wine after that because it's like, this is one of the nicer restaurants in Vegas with some of the best food I've had there. And
it's a third of an American breakfast at Fontainebleau.
Yeah. Well, after tax and tip, the American breakfast is more than a third of that. Yeah. What the shit? We'd been talking up throughout dinner how we're going to do a big hand of Baccarat. And so we pooled together between the 5 of us like $600 because Ryan and Alex were the kind of the 2 people on this. But I'm the one that actually knows like the Baccarat rules and how to do it and stuff. I would say mostly from watching Vegas Map, but that's not true. I taught myself like every single Baccarat banker draw rule like a while back just because I want to be the guy that knows how things work in the casino, not because I had ever really been interested in playing it. So we sit down, we find an empty table that's doing a new shoe. And it's a $300 table. So we put down the 600 and the guy starts dealing out cards. And I'm like, wait, isn't this like, he starts turning over cards. And I'm like, wait, isn't this supposed to be like, and I immediately realized, oh, it's a new shoe. He's doing the thing where you flip over one card and you burn that many cards. And I'm like, oh, sorry, I know what you're doing. I promise I've played this like once before. Like,
Jack wants to be the one that knows everything's going on. And as soon
right,
as
and I
something happens,
immediately,
he's like,
in my
"What?"
drunken stupor, was just like, oh, what's going on? But I caught myself. I was like, okay, 4. We're burning 4 cards. I got it. I'm back in. Basically, what happens is it starts with the player showing a 5. And as the banker, we turn over like an ace and a king for a 1. And so both sides have to draw. And as they say on Vegas Math, there's a lot of variance when you do a card for each. We take a look at what the player has first. What did he draw on that 5? Like, did he reduce? And he drew a 3 for a total of 8.
Oof.
And we're like, fuck, we need to see 3 pips when we peel the long side of this card so that we're looking at something that can improve our total of 1 up to something like an 8 or a 9, right? And we look, and it's 3 sides. And we're like, this is the like 1/3, 1/3, 1/3 case. Because if we have a 6, our 1 will improve to a 7 and we lose. If we have a 7, we improve to an 8 and we tie. And if we have an 8, we improve to a 9 and we win. And so it's like, okay, we just need to see dots at the top and the bottom. And if you can't do that, we want to see a dot at the top or the bottom to make it a 7. And we peel back no dots for a 6, total of 7. We lose $600.
At least you didn't have to pay commission.
That's true. Yeah, what would we'd have to win the commission back. And it's a $300 table. So how do you try to win the commission back when
No clue.
your base bet is only 2x the minimum?
This trip report's definitely going to be under an hour, right?
No.
You have like 3 minutes left.
This is brutal, actually. I didn't know how long we've been
I
going.
love every minute of it. Good thing I don't have to work tomorrow.
At this point, Alex is flying home, or he's flying to like Sacramento for work or some bullshit. But the rest of us went back to Cosmo. We get some more video poker in at the sportsbook bar. Trevor, of course, gets another dealt 4 of a kind. He gets dealt 4 of a kind 8s. And then like very shortly after that, he gets dealt a straight flush, which I haven't even looked up what the odds are, but they're, it's roughly 13 times more likely than a dealt royal, or I guess 12 times more likely than a dealt royal, right?
Sure.
No, what is it? There's 11 different straight flushes you can get, 5 through ace high. I don't know. Someone do the math and then don't tell me. And then Ben also on his little 10-cent that makes it sound really demeaning.
Wow.
Ben on his little 10-cent video poker ultimate.
Why even play little Benny?
He's playing bonus poker at $3 a spin, and he had 2 11x's running when he gets dealt 4 of a kind 2s.
Oh, hell
and
yeah.
that pays $460 at dimes, which is more than like a dime royal on multiply.
That's fantastic.
So that's pretty cool. Which is good. And this is one of those things where it's like, I don't think anything particularly interesting happened to me. I probably lost like $500, but like when it's your friends that are least into degenerate gambling that are doing the winning, it's like, this is the best case scenario for me, right? Is that, hey, they don't hate video poker. In fact, they might kind of like it. And so that's all I want.
Well, it's also great when you're playing with 3 or 4 people, because like if one person's having a bad time, maybe the vibes are still good enough because someone's hitting something.
Yeah.
Or like when you're playing by yourself, like you can get, and I think we talked about this in one of your past trip reports, of like just sitting at the Cosmo Sportsbook bar being like, man, I don't like this right now.
But like when your friends who like don't gamble much are winning, it's just buying you more time to keep playing. So I'd rather it be me who's losing in that kind of situation, because
your bankroll's a bottomless pit. It's not like
Right.
you're not going to stop. Like,
I can emotionally handle it, and it just means that they're going to keep going, so I can keep going.
Yep.
after that sportsbook bar stint, we then moved again for some late night dice. And we find a $25 table at the Cosmo. Now it's Sunday night, so it's a little less busy. The dice are like on the exact opposite side of the table from us, so it's a little bit before we get to shoot. And the last guy to shoot before us is this fucker, and you'll soon see why. And we called him Top Knot Guy because of his hairdo. And he had been playing the right way, the pass line, the whole night. And his roll didn't go particularly well. And so when the dice come around to our side of the table where Ben's first to shoot, he immediately switches to the don't with 2 don't comes. So he's playing like the exact opposite of what we're playing. And Ben just goes on a monster roll,
Nice.
which starts with him picking off all 3 don't come bets like very quickly, and the guy leaves the table. And it's like, what were you doing, asshole? Why did you switch as soon as it went to our side? Like, you don't know me. I don't know. It felt like the
Isn't that a way Mark Duvall plays every now and then, where he's like, well, when they're on the other side of the table, if it's not going well, I'm going to move to the don't.
We can still see the bets. Like we can, I don't like it.
I don't like it either.
So not only does he knock off these guys 3 individual don't bets like very quickly, but that also means that he jacked up our come bets like bang, 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 which, a lot of times as a come better, you have to wait a while. Even if you don't lose the bet, you might have to wait a really long time to win it. And that wasn't happening here. He was just establishing and making numbers with like great alacrity. The rest of us, again, we kind of have up and down rolls that are neither here nor there, but starting off our side of the table with a big windfall like that was just a blast. And this time I think I won like $550 on the session. So my morning video poker losses really were the net of the day because it was a wash, everything that happened after dinner. And so I end up getting a little chocolate cake at the Vdara Market Cafe. And I go to bed again. It's after 1 p.m. or after 1 a.m. in the morning at this point, but I don't have to wait for my bags. And I get my little cake, so I'm in a much better mood.
By the way, often overlooked benefit of staying at Vdara is that little 24/7 cafe that's right next to the elevators, just to grab something before you go up.
Yeah, their hot sandwiches are pretty good. Their desserts are pretty good. They have like a reasonable selection of like ice cream bars and stuff you can buy for exorbitant prices. I don't know. I'm into it.
Yeah, I mean, there's places like if you go to Wynn, like it's impossible, or Fontainebleau, to like find a sundry shop, like if you need a snack or something right before bed or before you go up for the night.
Cosmo's great with that too, having them right near at least the Boulevard elevators.
Yeah, for sure.
We're at Monday morning. Monday, the big day for the tournament. We start the morning, me and Ryan. Ben's still in bed somewhere, but we start, Ben and Trevor. Ryan and I start at the sportsbook bar at the Cosmo. And the one funny thing that happens here is a guy comes up and starts asking the bartender. He's like, hey, last night I had like a bag of food for my leftovers that I left at the bar. Like, do you know where they would have put that? And the bartender's like, I think if they found it, where they would have put it is in the bin. Like, they're just going to throw it away. And he's like, yeah. But like, if they like found it and returned it somewhere, like, where would that be? And the guy's like, well, anything that gets found anywhere gets immediately sent to Lost and Found, which you can access by talking to security at the podium near the cashier's cage, blah, blah, blah. And then
where's
the guy
my burger?
Well, right. And so we're just like, we end up yucking it up with the bartender. As soon as the guy leaves, the bartender comes over to us and is like, did you hear that guy? And we're both just like, yeah. Did he like leave his drugs in that bag or something?
Yeah,
like
something,
what?
Yeah.
It had to be something. Like, I have no idea what is going on with that, but there's no way that
like
guy got his food.
$25,000 in cash, like in the bag.
Right. But so we loved the guy that wanted his food from last night from the Lost and Found. I mean, like, I don't know. At this point in the morning, Trevor has to go. He was trying to get out of town before we did our poker stuff anyways. So he leaves, but he's even more enamored with the Vegas DGen experience than last time, having basically won at every video poker session and won at every crap session, and everything's just coming up Trevor. So that was good to see. He was like, hey, let me know when you're going out next. I'm a quick flight away. I'll come, so I've got another guy on my Rolodex of people that will join for Vegas, which is good. I'm at this point feeling a little worse for the wear, but Monday is going to be a non-drinking, non-gambling day for the most part with this tournament going on. So it's kind of going to be an intermission day. So I'm not like completely burnt out on the like, oh God, I just have to keep drinking and gambling for 5 days straight. It's nice to have this like right in the middle. I do get to go take a nap. I meet up with Ben and Ryan at the Cosmo Food Court, which is still the best. Like Cosmo Food Court to me, I haven't tried every place at the Venetian one yet, but the Cosmo one is still like number one.
Mm-hmm.
The David Chang Bong Bar is where Ben and Ryan ate. I got Hattie B's chicken, and I got my nitro tea at the sushi bar there, which is my favorite. But the nitro sencha is being replaced. So I had to settle for the nitro matcha, which I think is more of a crowd pleaser.
Oh, I mean, I don't know what any of those words mean, but that's terrible.
What
is nitro sencha?
Well, sencha and matcha are two different types of like Japanese green tea. Matcha is the more like, finely powdered and whisked preparation of it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And sencha is just a full leaf green tea.
Thank you for explaining that to people who don't know.
Yeah.
We know, but thank
for
you
the listeners.
Yeah, for the listeners.
Yeah.
The nitro matcha is great. So as long as they keep that on tap, I'm going to still be a happy camper. And they're replacing the sencha with some sort of tap cocktail of some sort. So that could be interesting to try. We move on to the poker tournament. I did have to edit out some parts of the previous episode. No one heard them, so this is kind of a non-story. But where I talked about not needing the app to register for the tournament, I nixed that part because they are, in the intervening year where I didn't play the tournament, they went all in on their goddamn app. So you need to like have everything ready to go in the app before you even end up in the line to give them your money. And there's a woman there being like, you need to show up in the app as 2 out of 3. If you're not 2 out of 3, you're not in the right line. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you're definitely not in the right line, that kind of stuff. Register for the tournament, get to my table. And this tournament felt a lot more like a turbo version of the tournament than I'm used to. And that is kind of a turbo sounds like I'm just kind of talking about it being speedy, but that is kind of a technical poker term for a tournament where you start with a smaller stack and the blinds go up faster in order to get more people out more quickly. And indeed, that's what was going on here. Like the starting stacks were shorter. We were only playing 40-minute levels, with none of them really being like double levels to make up for the fact that we were doing only 40 minutes a level instead of an hour. And so, for instance, at the end of day one, there were only like 100 or so people left out of the like 500 plus that entered, where usually it's about a third remain and 2/3 are busted. And here it was more like 80-20. And not only that, the player who was 9th in chips out of those like 100 remaining players going into day two only had like 20 big bets. Big bets meaning like the increment of the larger of the 2 limit bets you're allowed to make. And I say that because normally if I sit down at a cash game, I'm sitting down with like closer to 40 bets with the option to go in for like 50 if I don't do well early on. And so only having 20 is like about half the stack that you would even just buy in at a cash game with. And this is someone in the top 10th percentile, the 90th percentile rather, 4 chips in the tournament after the first day has well less than I'd be comfortable sitting at a cash game with in terms of buy-in, which just seems pretty unbecoming of the World Series, actually, right? Like,
Now, did you know that going in? Like, did you have that expectation, or
you could have seen it from the structure sheet going in, but I didn't bother to look at it because they've been pretty consistent in past years with these kind of being like that, and it's hard to decipher how the tournament is going to feel from just looking at the structure sheet, unless you had some sort of like model that analyzed it and showed your risk of ruin or risk of ending up really short stacked or stuff like that.
Okay.
But then the issue is that in some sense, your effective stack is also governed by how much you can get out of your opponent. So even if you have 20 bets in your stack, if you're playing against someone who's short, you have to change the way you play because they might not be able to call a bet or a raise on every street. So you don't get paid off in certain ways. And so it just really it played even further from a limit cash game than we're used to. And all this complaining makes sense given that I busted out within like 3.5 hours in this team. And at the time I busted out, about 450 people had registered up to that point and climbing. And I didn't even bust that early in the grand scheme of things. There were about 70 other people that were out before I was. And so, yeah, it was definitely in the bottom bit, but I wasn't in like the bottom 10th percentile or anything like that. And before, this would have been something that happened around like the 6-hour mark is when you start to see, like a good 20% of the field eliminated. And now it was happening at like the 3-hour, 30-minute mark. And indeed, I was like, I'm just going to stick around until that break at the 4-hour mark because Ben's stack was so short. And indeed, he busted out before even getting to the second break, which was kind of previously unprecedented. But so Ryan was still in. Yeah.
So 2 out of the 3 of you guys busted early?
2 out of the 3 of us jerks busted early. So,
well, when you're doing it in a group like that, that's just bound to happen. Yeah. Something to be ashamed of.
So my waiting around till that second break pays off. Ben and I head back to hang out in my suite for a bit, but we keep our eye on the clock so that we can do the Earl of Sandwich delivery for Ryan on time at the 6-hour mark break. We, not necessarily wanting Earl of Sandwich, drop that sandwich off for him. He goes off to like FaceTime his family, and we head off to In-N-Out, where I haven't eaten in like quite some time. And so I'm excited to get some In-N-Out.
Is this the new In-N-Out? Like the big one?
No, I think that one was like just not open yet, or maybe was opening like while we were there. But no, we went to the normal extant one on the Link Promenade. And they are very fast there, but they get people through the ordering line so quickly and expediently that there's just a mass of people waiting for their order because they're so good at taking orders. And then the kitchen, obviously can handle as much throughput as it does. We don't have to wait that long. We just have to wait in a giant pile of people. On the way back, we're like remarking on how in Vegas, it's very frustrating to walk around once it starts getting a little more crowded because people there walk with neither purpose nor awareness. So they have like no intentionality or purpose to what they're doing. Like you can't figure out where they're going or why they're doing what they're doing because they don't know. And they have no idea what's going on around them.
This is Kim's biggest pet peeve. Like not just in Vegas, just in general. Like if you're walking and someone's just not paying attention, yeah, she'll say loud enough so they can hear it. She'll say things like, other people live on this earth too. Like if you, or like, someone goes in a door and you're right behind them and they don't hold it open or like anything like that. When she listens to this, she's going to be like, fuck yeah, Jack. She's going to text you. I guarantee she'll text you.
I'm into it. Because I was saying, as long as they just had one or the other, like they don't need to have both purpose and awareness, just one. Either be aware of what's going around you or know where you're going. And either of those I can work with. But everyone has neither. And right after we make this point, we have a guy, we're walking through like the Flamingo lobby, and we have a guy just like meander. He's staring right into his phone. Like he has his phone so close to his face, he looks like he's like a stock photo of someone too engrossed in their phone. And he's just walking slowly in a diagonal path through this walkway where people are going, just like right in front of everyone. And then we get outside to those elevators near Cromwell to go over to the Caesars side. And someone, as we're getting onto the escalator, just stops and immediately makes a 180, like at the first stair of the escalator, just turns around right into us to try to get off it instead of going up. And it's just, and then it's like, oh, sorry, I didn't know there would be anyone there. It's like, what on earth are you doing? And so right after we have this discussion, we just see like the most baffling behavior from the Vegas tourists. But we make it back to my room at the Vdara with our double doubles, and we eat a quick In-N-Out dinner before I end up going to bed at a reasonable hour. So all this practice staying up late for the poker tournament was just immediately aborted. Though it was the shortest poker tournament I've ever played. The tournament went about as long as the Vdara Invitational did. We'd been getting a lot of up and down reports about how Ryan was doing. His stacks up. Oh, now it's kind of on life support again. Oh, it's actually doing pretty good. But I went to bed before we even learned if he made it through to day 2 or not, because that wouldn't happen until about 1 a.m. Pacific would we know that. And so then I wake up Tuesday morning to learn that Ryan ended the day 9th in chips, which is why I mentioned that specific number earlier. He was in 9th place going into day 2. And then we were shocked and appalled to learn how few chips he had, given he was that far ahead of the pack. I get Ryan in for a cheeky walk down to Mandalay Bay before we end up doing more Cosmo Food Court for lunch.
Wait, what is a cheeky walk?
Yeah, like did you walk cheek to cheek?
It's just a cheeky little walk there. I don't know. We weren't wearing like thongs or anything.
Did you have purpose and awareness on this walk?
Oh, I think in general, I walk with more purpose than awareness if I had to pick, but
okay.
I think that's okay.
When things are getting cheeky, though, you might lose a little bit of awareness.
We took a cheeky little walk down to Mandalay Bay and then settled on doing more Cosmo Food Court for lunch so that we could get Ryan off to the tournament on time. I ended up getting a breakfast sandwich from District Donuts. I think it was like a honey butter hot chicken sort of sandwich. It was great. Again, just all the food options there are great. Ryan heads off to the tournament, and Ben and I are like, well, now what do we do? Because this is kind of the part where you don't have anything concrete planned because you might still be in the tournament, but you have like ideas of what you might want to do. And he's like, I kind of want to go play some poker at the Bellagio, but I also have like an hour and a half of work I need to get done. And I'm like, well, I kind of want to check out the Bellagio Sportsbook, but I also want to go to Resorts World. And so we settle up on an itinerary where we check out the Bellagio Sportsbook because I don't remember what sorts of games they offer there. Like, is this a reasonable place to play like Ultimate X?
Oh, yeah.
I was like, then we could just play there while you wait for the poker. And he's like, I actually think I'm just going to do some work, so I'll do the poker like later at night. Ben and I head off to the sports book. We're going to play an hour before I head to Resorts World and he heads off to do work. And Ben puts $200 in a video poker machine, and it instantly glows like fatal error, blue screen of death. The machine has exploded, like null pointer exception. Everything you could think of that is bad is on the screen at this point. So I'm like, well, you can borrow another $200 and just play the machine on the other side of me, right? And so he does that. We get a slot attendant finally comes over, and Ben like gets up like hastily to go like explain to them what's going on. I'm like, no, just sit back down. Like there's nothing you can tell them about what's going on the machine that they don't already know, right? Like they're just going to figure it out. He's like, but I just like put $200 in there. I'm like, it's gonna be fine. Like they don't need to know that you put $200 in there. It actually ends up being quite a bit more involved than I thought. The slot attendant has to call a slot tech. They work on it for like 20 plus minutes. But sure enough, as soon as it boots back up successfully, it says balance 200. We hit cash out. We get the ticket. It's all as well. And I was like, I assigned it probability like 99 that this was going to come back up with your $200 in it. Like I would have laid big money that this was just going to work completely fine. And he's like, I was not in the same boat. And I was like, yeah, I've had this happen to me enough times that like I know that the machines just work and they just come back exactly how they work, kind of thing.
But usually it's because you're like hitting it or something because you're getting excited.
Well, that's happened once. Longtime listeners will know. But of course, here's the report on the Ultimate X at the Bellagio Sportsbook Bar. It's not great. The only game that's comparable to the ones we normally play is the double-double bonus. At quarters, they have it at 8-5.
Okay. Yeah.
Ultimate X. So all the others are a tick worse. They don't have the bonus poker for reasons we've discussed. And then at dimes, things are like even worse where the double-double is 7-5. And so it's like, all right, Ben, I guess we're both playing quarter double-double Ultimate X, which is like a big step up from dime bonus poker, right? And of course, he goes and gets 4 aces with a kicker, not on a multiplier, but he holds 2 aces and gets a quick $500. So that was pretty neat for his first foray ever into double-double.
Were you guys sitting on the normal side? Because you can also go around.
We went around and sat on the low stairs.
Yeah.
I said exactly that, Adam, when we got to the bar. I was like, I actually kind of want to go up the step where we get to sit on the lower chairs because I find that pretty novel. So
yeah, it was pretty weird.
We did exactly that. And I think that's a really weird architecture for a bar, but I love it.
So when I'm at Bellagio next week, not a great place to go play some Ultimate X.
If you want to play double-double 8-5 Ultimate X,
if you want to sit in little
exactly
chairs,
the same. Yeah.
Low height chairs.
But everything else is a tick worse than you'd be used to. So he heads back to do some work. I head up to Resorts World, and it's like hot out on this walk to Resorts World. I stay mostly outside, and when I get there, I'm like, man, this is kind of hot. And I checked the weather; it wasn't even 100 degrees. Like we were there for a pretty temperate summer days. It was like 96 as the high most days. I don't know. It's kind of nice. Previously, when we've been for the World Series, like I've been there when it's 114 for the World Series of Poker. And it's just like, it's oppressive. In the high 90s is perfect walking weather. So despite sticking to my bonus poker, I swing up and down a fair bit on the video poker. I start with about $1,000 in the machine. And boy, does it take a long time to put those bills in at Resorts World. Like the bill acceptors there are, I swear to God, 4 times slower than anywhere else. Like it has to really think about it.
We should
they
time
want
it.
you to think about it. It's a responsible gambling initiative that they're doing.
That's very kind of them.
I can't maybe on your spreadsheet, maybe on our spreadsheet that we'll have someday with all the video poker bars, one of it will be
speed.
How fast the bill acceptors are.
Yeah, how fast you get $1,000 in.
Yep. So I eventually turned that 1,000 down to like 450 in the machine. When eventually I get dealt 4 aces on like 2-3-2 for $700, and then a few other multiplied quads, and I'm up to like $1,550 in the machine, and then I'm back down to about even. And so things still kind of fluctuate around, but at a slightly depressed amount compared to the double bonus I usually play. And this guy sits next to me at the bar, and he's talking about his trouble getting money from the cage, where he's like, oh, they told me that I should bring traveler's checks. And then I show up on Saturday, and they're like, we don't cash those till Monday. And he's like, then what do I do? And then they set him up with like a credit line and stuff. And then he's mad about having gotten vouchers from his credit line. He's talking about how the machine knows that you put vouchers in instead of cash. And he's like, it's not going to treat it the same. Like the money you put in is not going to be treated the same. It's a voucher instead of cash. Like the machine isn't going to be giving you the same treatment. Like he doesn't say exactly what that means, but he thinks he's getting the short end of the stick somehow. I'm trying to ignore this guy. But Chris, the bartender, has to be showing him some hospitality and has to kind of humor him. And the guy can tell Chris isn't really buying it with the whole vouchers thing. And so he starts to kind of like justify it, more, I don't know. He starts justifying it more to himself out loud. And he's like, oh, it's like how when you're playing things on free play, things just don't work out the same, because that's a more broadly believed piece of bullshit about these slot machines is that, oh yeah, free play, the payback is worse or stuff like that. You'll find more people to agree with you. But Chris is also still looking at him like he's a weirdo for that, because that's an insane thing to say.
But couldn't he have just taken his voucher to and get cash and then put the cash in if he really felt that way?
Well, I don't know. I wasn't going to offer this guy any solutions. I wasn't going to even look at him. I was like, if this guy starts talking to me, my day's over.
But that's what pisses me off about gamblers who are so dead set on certain like things that are either true or superstitions, right? You know, if you're at the craps table and someone walks by and says 7 or whatever, and then there's a 7 out, and someone's like, "See, every time." I'm like, well, then turn your fucking bets off. Like,
or bet hop the
Jeez,
three-way
hop.
big red.
Mhm.
Yeah, if you were right, you could win. But
yeah,
in this case.
And that's like, and like you get the people like, oh well, they're cheating, like they're, you know, I knew it was going to happen. It's like, okay, yeah, then change. If you know that they're cheating, then just bet the opposite way you're always going to bet. Like, I don't understand, like in all these 50-50 things.
And so after he leaves, I'm like, Chris, I figured it out. They have slow bill acceptors here so that you want to go get vouchers, and then you put the vouchers in and they screw you. And he's like, I have no idea what that guy is on about. All the biggest players here play exclusively on vouchers, like all of our high rollers do. And I've seen some insane hits. He's like, just like some of the biggest jackpots I've ever seen at this bar have been on people playing their free play. You know, he's not just, he's seen it all. He's not buying any of it. But I have quite a few drinks from Chris here because I had been pretty temperate throughout the day. I don't think I had anything to drink until after we finished that sports bar session at Bellagio. And so I get to Resorts World and hit the ground running at like 2 p.m. And I make it through to 6 p.m. when Douglas clocks in for the swing shift. And he is a great bartender as well. It's just that I'm rarely looking to keep drinking by the time he gets in. And I've often even left the bar before he gets in. And so I ask him for kind of like a low proof cocktail. And he just runs with that and makes me some sort of like variant on a spritz with some fresh mint in it, you know, served in a big wine glass. It was beautiful looking. It's just so nice. The bartenders at the bar are so good that like you just say, hey, I vaguely want this. And they're just like, I got you. And the thing I appreciate about Chris and Maddie, of course, and Douglas as well. We learn around this time, around 6 p.m., that Ryan has indeed busted out at the tournament. So I think he got like 33rd place or something pretty good. But the payouts in this tournament get so steep towards the end that like first place was like 130,000 and eighth place was like 13,000. And so 33rd place, you know, you can imagine it was like $5,000 or something like that. Maybe not even on his $1,500 buy-in.
You know, at least he cashed though.
Yeah. And he made some money for the rest of us. You know, I had 10% of his action and stuff like that. So that was good.
Must be nice that the person you
got
maybe
some
action of did well.
Get us in touch with Ryan next time. We can get his action. He's taking it seriously.
I did manage to sell off 5 different 10% pieces. So I did mitigate some of my risk on that $1,500 buy-in at the expense of my friends. But that's what happens when you buy a piece. I don't know.
So then
You're
technically
mad that I didn't cash the tournament on a sample size of 1. I'm not really.
I mean, but maybe
that bad for you.
Technically, since we had a piece of you, we also then had a piece of Ryan, I think.
Oh,
ipso facto.
Ooh, I think, yeah, that's a pretty clear ipso facto to me.
Mm-hmm.
So at this point, Ryan getting out. Ryan getting out of the tournament just wants to do something nearby so that he can be around to get in a cash game to play some poker, because that's what Ben is also looking to do. So we settle on being able to get a quick China Poblano. I have to warn the guys, like, hey, I'm coming in pretty hot here in the alcohol world. So it's going to be a good China Poblano from my perspective. And they're coming in basically sober after playing poker and working all day. And it was great. I don't know if we have too much to report. We got a little bit from all the various parts of the menu. Ben and Ryan head off to play regular poker. I head off to play what Trevor at one point called V poker. And we had to tell him no one calls video poker V poker.
I will now.
Well, kind of like iGaming or stuff like that. But this is a non-abbreviation. But we started calling it Video P instead.
Ooh, okay.
So they're playing some P and I'm playing some Video P at the Chandelier Bar.
I'd like either of those.
And I don't think it was a particularly good session for me. I haven't been doing particularly well on the Cosmo video poker, but there was an interesting security incident at the Chandelier Bar where some woman had left her machine. Another young woman comes up and is standing in front of that machine just trying to order from the bartender. And the other woman comes back and is like, hey, where's my money that was in here? And that other woman's like, I don't know what you're talking about. I just got here. I'm trying to order a drink. And it becomes pretty quickly clear that the woman standing there had nothing to do with it. And the guy's like, oh yeah, a woman came by and was like playing it and she just like cashed it out. I didn't notice that she cashed out your money. I thought she cashed out her money or whatever that she was briefly playing. And so, yeah, someone just came by and noticed that there was money in the machine, cashed out and left. And 2 security guards got involved. They were asking this guy that had seen her for like a description of the perpetrator. And they're like, oh yeah, if it's someone that we know, we can try to like find her. But my guess is that
they had cameras.
Yeah. My guess is that
they should call the New Jersey Gaming Commission and say, put in the fucking pile of unanswered ones.
But this, I just bring up as a public service announcement because I am always telling people, like, if you're leaving the machine for any reason, just cash out and take the ticket with you. Don't tell your friends, hey, can you watch my machine? Because then if they get distracted, they're going to feel terrible when someone pulls this shit on them. And so just cash out.
Did she leave for good, or was she just going like the bathroom or something?
She was just going for the bathroom. Yeah, she was.
Oh, no.
She left like her drink there or something, or like her friend knew it was there, but it just all happened so fast kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why when she came back, she thought like this person had stolen it, or I don't know.
That's AP slots for you.
Yep.
She's probably also an ultimate X-Vaulter.
Yeah.
So at this point, after thankfully having not been implicated in the security incident, and no one had to call me a German motherfucker or anything like that, it's time for me to go to bed. So yeah, I head to bed, and it looks like no one could have seen this coming, but the trip report has gone on a little long. We're past that hour mark. And so I think now is a good time as any to call it for hour 1 of episode 26 of Handy at the Shandy. And after we get through your listener feedback in hour 2, we'll maybe sneak the rest of this trip report in there.
Let's hope so.
For Hopeful Games and Adam, I'm Boring Jack, and we'll talk to you soon.
Take care.
Bye-bye.